Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome folks, Today the Hungry Gamer is back with another mini preview, and today we're talking about Mercurial Alchemia from Hyper Elixir and Good Games Publishing and designed by David Go. Now, this is a game that is the follow-up to a game that I covered a few years ago called Mercurial, which is kind of a tableau building game with some dice chucking in it, and you're using those dice to purchase more cards and activate cards as you try to score points. And ostensibly, this was kind of about these wizards finding this new area and kind of trying to tame it. And this game takes place in the time after it, where it's been tamed, and now there's a town, and alchemists have moved in, and they're experimenting with all the different flora all over the place. And if you're interested in how this game is played, I made the official how to play video, which you'll see up there in just a bit, as I very quickly go over the broad ideas of the game. And there's a link down in the description where you can check that out. As I said, that's the official how to play video, so that was a sponsored content. This video right here, I was not paid to create, but again, I was paid to make the other one, so if that you think influences my opinion, then now you know up front. So, as I mentioned, you are all taking on the role of an alchemist, and each of the alchemists is trying to brew the best potions. And to do that, it's going to be a combination of deck building, as you'll be purchasing cards and putting them in your deck, and then recipe fulfillment, I guess you might want to call it, because as you're going through and getting these different cards, you're eventually going to be putting these cards into your potions. And then along with that, you're going to be doing a good amount of worker placement as you're moving your alchemist around to do different things. And so each turn, the way it's going to work is you will have started with, at the end of the previous turn, playing cards out of your deck. And as you draw your cards, you're going to play the cards, and in the bottom corner, it's going to have different things they do. It might allow you to re-roll some of your dice, it might allow you to draw new cards, or it might give you some blight, or a few other things as well. And then, each player is going to get to move their worker somewhere new in the town. And depending on where you go, it's going to have a different action. And first you take your day action, which is one that's listed, and then every other player on the board can pay a cost and also do the same action that you're going to do. Then after everyone's done that, then you're going to move into the night action, which will be connected to the day shop that you went to, something that you can do there. Then, at the end of that, you'll get to take some of the cards that you played from your hand, and you'll get to put them into your potion. When you put them into your potion, you have this big board that is your player board, that down the middle are the different elements that are the opposites on each side. So you have fire on one side and water on the other. And then there's 6 different materials that also kind of go one side to the other. And depending on what you're putting into your potion, you're going to add more of an element to your potion. So your markers are going to be moving to one side or the other. And then eventually you'll go do a brew action, which means you don't do a daytime action, you don't do a nighttime action, you're just going to make your potion. And then you're going to get to put a whole bunch of cards that's already in your hand that you had and you played, while everyone else is out there doing their daytime actions. You're going to be there able to play a bunch of cards into your potion to continue moving these markers to the left or to the right. And it matters because depending on how far away from the center each of these markers is, you're going to get more money, which are these shells, or you're going to get more points. And you get bonus money if you have all of your markers going to one side or the other. The more of an imbalance there is, the more money you're going to get. And as you get points, you'll get some power-ups and so on. You can buy some power-ups, you're getting cards by taking your worker placement actions on the board, and so on and so on. However, there's also several modules. There's a module where you have these standees called runalists down at the bottom of each board, which allows you to kind of get some bonuses at the nighttime actions. There are objectives that you can play with, and then there are asymmetric player boards you can have. There's even a version where you're trying to create the Philosopher's Stone. To do that, you're actually avoiding having heavily weighted to one side or the other at the end of your brew, and instead having perfect equilibrium. By doing that, you can get like an instant win in the game. There's a whole bunch of different things, and there's a solo mode, and I will point out right now that to play the solo mode, you're operating 2 bots as they're moving around because you need to be able to join them, and if you play a 2-player, you actually have 1 bot that you're using as well. So, with all of that said, what do I like about this game? First of all, it's beautiful. This is a prototype, and to be fair, it's a prototype of the collector's edition, the deluxe edition, but it's beautiful. Great dice. The art on everything is just fantastic. It is beautiful, beautiful art. It has these awesome little trays that kind of store your bits in there, and it has these gold foiled cardboard tokens that you have for your reagents and your catalysts. And one side's got the gold foil shiny, and then when it's used, it's just kind of grayed out. Just beautiful, beautiful stuff. Next thing I'll say is there is so much gameplay when you start thinking about the different modules you can add in, even before you add the modules in. There is so much gameplay here because there's so much going on every single turn. There's so many things to think about. Okay, do I want to join this person here? But if I join this person here, I'm going to have to spend my reagent. If I spend my reagent, that means I'm not going to be able to use that reagent when I'm doing my infusion at the end of the round. Or maybe I don't want to join there, but that means I'm not going to be able to take this moment to buy an extra card that I might want to have on the next turn, and so on and so on and so on. I didn't even talk about Blight, how that works. All kinds of stuff I did not even address. There's just so much in this box. And I don't even know if that's everything. There might be more coming down the road. Next thing I'll say is, even though I mentioned you have to run 2 bots when you're playing solo, it's very, very easy to run solo. It's intensely easy to do, and it actually keeps the game moving pretty snappily because of the way the solo works. The next thing I'll say is I really like the way the deck building works in this. I'm very much on record as saying I don't like deck builders where I'm getting cards that all they do is get me more cards. And this game doesn't do that. They're multi-use cards. Yes, some of the cards will let me draw more cards into my hand. That's a good thing. But they have little things that they're going to let you do, and then you're going to be using them in your recipes, in your potions. The only way you're getting cards is by selling your potions, getting your Glimmer Snail shells, which is the money, and then on your worker placement actions, you will go and buy those things. And so you're getting to do all these things every single turn. I really, really like that. I also really like that every time you place your workers somewhere, with the exception of brewing, but brewing you're doing a lot of math, it's not math, but you're putting your cards in and then you have these dice, you're using the dice to infuse your elements and all this stuff that you're doing. But every time you place your workers somewhere else, you get to do at least 2 actions. Sometimes in the night action, you get to do that twice, so you're doing 3 actions. And then you're potentially joining what other people do, and I love the way that works, to where every time someone places a worker, you're doing something, if you want. And then once that's done, the rest of the turn is simultaneous. You're all, okay, you're doing your thing. You're brewing your potion, you're doing that, and it just is really, really, really clever and really well done. It's a very cool mix of playing in turn order and then simultaneous. And then, of course, the point of the game is you're brewing these potions. It's really fun. It is really fun slowly building up these potions as you're going, and it's awesome trying to pick the right moment to do your brew. Because, like, okay, I got the stuff I need. I'm going to have such an amazing potion. You're doing it, and then invariably you make a mistake. You're like, no, but it's too late. You've already done it, and it works really well. And even when you're doing that, the game has a mechanic where every time people brew, things get a little bit harder for you the next time you brew. It's very, very clever, and I really like that. The last thing I'll say is I love it has the asymmetric player powers. Or not player powers, player boards. There's completely different kind of things that you're doing with different values, different points, some different bonuses that you can get, and each one just is a little bit different. Just a few rules, but enough to make each one feel a bit unique. And at the same time, you can absolutely have one person playing the asymmetric powers and another player playing normal, and it's still competitive. It's just a different feeling every time you do it. So what are my quibbles with the game? I'm going to start with that right there, the asymmetric powers. I wish they were more unique. I wish as I was going through, there was moments where I was like, that was so cool that I got to do that. And to be fair, it does happen here and there. It absolutely does. But I wish they were more asymmetric. Next thing I'll say is, as beautiful as the card art is, the board, at least in the prototype, and I've spoken with the publisher and the designer, and they said one of the things that they're actively are looking at is kind of brightening up the board a little bit because it's just a little bit dull. All this beautiful art and there's a little bit of a dull board. Along with that, some of the iconography on the board and the prototype, it's just too small. And again, that's something that they are talking about making that bigger, but I've got to tell you what I see in the moment. So I wish that was something a little bit bigger. The next thing I'll say is, again, this is a collector's edition thing. I wish there was a different shape for each of the meeples. they're not normal meeple shapes. They're alchemists. They look like they're holding potions or whatever they're doing. I wish each color was a different shape that kind of could go along with the theme of their asymmetric power that they have. And then the last thing I'm going to say is, well, each of the arcanas, I didn't even talk about the arcanas. You have familiars, and as you go through, you get to power them up. They get really, really cool. Some of them on the one side they're all very cute. But on the one side, you see, okay, this is what it is. And then when it flips over, it's evolved. And it's a huge difference, a massive difference. It's so cool. And then others, teeny tiny little difference. So I really hope that they lean into that. And so you just have this evolution when you flip that over. Along with that, I wish that each of the alchemists had another side, another option to it. Because the only difference in the alchemists are this transmute ability, which you get to use every time you brew, and a few other times. And it just seems to me they could very easily just have a different combination on the other side of that of what their transmute does. And I just wish that was something that was there. So I'm nitpicking here. I'm nitpicking here because I really like this game a lot. And so the only other thing that I'm going to say, I guess two things I'll say. One, a lot of people don't like the idea of having to have a bot. And I do need to point out that in the two-player game, you do have to run a single bot. And that's not because you're competing against it. That's just so there's that other bot going out there to different locations so you can join with them, because otherwise the game actually slows down a bit if you don't have that other person out there giving you other action opportunities. But the only other thing that I'll say here is there is so much stuff in this game that you have to play a lot to even begin to scratch the surface. Now, I put that in the quibbles, and you're thinking, why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. But I do know how many of us only play games a few times. So if you want to experience this game, you're going to have to play several times. I actually played this game more than any prototype that I've had in recent memory. I played it over and over and over again, and I still did not experiment with the equilibrium, the Philosopher's Stone thing. I just didn't get to it. I did not have the time, and I played this game so many times. But there you have it, folks. That is Mercurial Alchemia. This is a game that's right on the edge of weight for me. This is as heavy a game as I want to go before I'm like, this is too heavy. But man, does it really, really crush it in my opinion. As I just mentioned, I played this game far more than I played any other prototype before I'm like, okay, I can do a preview on this now. In fact, I even told the publisher I wasn't going to send it on for another week because I wanted to make sure that Original Don got a chance to play it. So, because I was like, I think you're really going to like this. I really will play it again. So really, really enjoying this. I'm very excited for this. I'm super sad that I do actually have to mail it off now. I'm looking forward to getting another copy when this thing finally delivers, because I think this is one that if you're into a heavy Euro and you like worker placement and you like deck building and fun, then this is one that you really need to look at picking up. It's just really, really good. So, there you have it, folks. That is Mercurial Alchemia. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share, maybe become a channel member. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.